Hey y'all, welcome to Parker's Reefs. On today's episode, we're going to check out 3 incredible and huge reef displays in a public aquarium. Alright, thank you for joining me on yet another episode of Parker's Reefs, and as touched on in the intro, today we are doing something just a little bit different and we're going to go visit Cairns Aquarium, because if you've been following the channel, you'll recognize that not that long ago I was up there with the guys from Triton, checking out their new display, having a good behind the scenes look at their lab, and of course talking to Julian Ehsan about the Triton method. Now, when in Cairns, and there is an incredible public aquarium there, you do your best to get to that public aquarium, and doubly so when you know it has some huge living reef displays. Now, I was fortunate enough to not only go to Cairns Aquarium, see these beautiful living reef displays, but also track down Brad, the exhibit manager for the coral reef displays there, mic him up and get to run through a few questions with him, as well as get a little behind the scenes look at the aquariums, as well as the filtration and the methodology that the guys there follow. So of course, the first thing I did was roll the camera so I could take you guys along for the journey. Before we roll the footage, I do just want to say that Brad was incredibly nervous about being on camera, so keep that in mind. I personally think he did a fantastic job, and I do really appreciate the time he took in his busy day to make this possible. So without any further ado, let's roll the footage at Cairns Aquarium. All right, I have managed to track down Brad here. We're at Cairns Aquarium and we're seated in front of one of a number of live coral systems that they have here, and I could not help but get someone as experienced as this to take us through what's involved in running a live reef system in a public aquarium, because it's not something you see often, or not something you see done as well as this. So firstly, thank you for the time.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Now, just before we go down the rabbit hole, what is your official position here at Cairns Aquarium?
I'm the exhibit manager here at Cairns Aquarium for the coral exhibits.
Awesome. So we've got the right man. You're going to be able to tell us all about it. Now, can you give me a rough dimension of, well, firstly, this system in front of us here, which is a SBS-based system?
Yeah, that's right. So the system itself is approximately 2 to 3 meters deep.
Yes.
And with a depth to the back of about 1 to 2 meters.
Yeah, right. And that equates to approximately how many litres we're thinking?
Looking at about 9,000 litres.
9,000 litre system, crazy. Now, my mind boggles on that. As I said, that's only one system. We'll get to have a chance to look at a LPS system later, and then over behind us we've even got a soft coral system over there. But starting here on this SBS system, SBS obviously what we often consider to be one of the most difficult corals, and
yeah, that's
you're talking a system, how deep was it? 2 meters deep?
Thereabouts, yeah. Probably getting closer to 3 when you're right at the bottom.
Yeah, crazy. So tell us, what are some of the challenges in a system this large to try and grow SBS corals?
One of the biggest challenges is getting the flow.
Yes.
Especially when coral's growing at the rate that it is.
For sure.
Starts shading, blocking.
Yes.
We've also got the lighting. So
yeah, that's one that comes to mind when you're talking 2+ meters deep.
Exactly. So yeah, trying to get that penetration down, make sure everything's getting ample lighting. It's not being shaded by the corals.
Yes.
Yeah, can be quite difficult.
Full-on challenges, and we'll get an opportunity to have a little peek behind the curtain and see some of the filtration a bit later. But speaking about starting with that flow, I can see you've got a number of Gaia pumps in there to help try and facilitate that flow. Is that a full approach for the tank, or is there something else in there?
Apart from turning the returns up to maximum flow, yeah, we've got these gyres just pumping away at the moment, trying to get that water circulating.
And these are the big guys. They don't look big in a system this big, but they are the big guys, and you've got them scattered about in all sorts of places.
Yeah, that's it. Different directions and whatnot.
Yeah, crazy. And then on the lighting side of things, obviously some pretty commercial spec lighting to try and get the par down there.
Yeah, definitely. So we're running some fairly old Orpex now.
Yep.
But we are looking to upgrade.
Yes.
Yeah, at the moment they're doing the job. So
absolutely, the coral growth in here is quite impressive, really, because it's not easy to run a system this big, and yeah, to have living coral in there, just running a system this big is a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keep parameters where you need to have them for coral growth, get the flow, get the par. It's a monumental task. And like we said, this is an SBS system.
Yeah, so for us, stability is absolutely key.
Yes.
Trying to make sure that water quality is bang on where we want it.
Yes.
Trying to avoid any fluctuations. And yeah.
Going good. Now, roughly how long has this system been running for?
So the system began its setup approximately 2 years ago.
Okay.
And you can see just how much it's actually grown in at this point.
These are some serious colonies happening in there, and it's looking an absolute treat. Speaking of some of the livestock in there, I believe this is all, I mean, the premise of the tank here is to showcase some of the local specimens.
Yes, exactly. So everything in our displays, including the coral tanks, is from this region. So we're talking, Great Barrier Reef, Coral
Incredible.
Sea.
Yeah, so I mean, Cairns is obviously a tourist town, and sometimes snorkeling or scubaing is not for everyone, but they can come on in here to Cairns Aquarium, keep dry, they don't even need to bring a towel, and enjoy some of the local corals, fish, and up close and personal and see them growing like that.
Absolutely, and it's always a joy to hear them talk about actually being able to see live coral.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So with the local fish and corals you have in there, is there any particular, let's say with fish, is there any particular ones of interest in there that are challenging or have potential characteristics that make them stand out? Any favourites you have?
In terms of fish, I mean, the fish are pretty well selected. We try and make sure they're functional fish.
Yes.
They all serve some sort of purpose. So
sure.
In that regard, they're all a favourite because they're helping me do my job.
They're all part of your staff.
That's exactly right.
So obviously with that, you've got a number of tangs in this system, just keeping surfaces clean. You can see chocolate goby, I believe, down here, a goby of some spec, just cleaning the sand. Number of wrasse in there, even the long-nosed butterflies. Lots of specimens like that. Yeah, utilitarian fish that are just going to, every little bit they can do is going to make it a lot easier to run a system like this.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about getting in those nitty-gritty spots in between the corals.
Yeah, I know how difficult it is just getting in the home aquarium, but obviously trying to get into this system poses another challenge, and particularly when you've got nice fragile SBS in there, you don't want to stand on them and break them.
Absolutely. Diving this tank in particular can be quite a challenge. It's trying not to run into anything, very, very slow and cautious at all times.
Can't imagine. Oh, well, you've done a fantastic job. It looks incredible, and if possible, I'd love to showcase your LPS system as well.
Absolutely.
Let's do it. All right, Brad, so we've literally just gone from the side, our SBS system's over there, and then we just take a step to the left, as the Rocky Horror Show would say, and check out this LPS system here. Obviously very similar dimensions, similar length, size, width, depth, volume.
Exactly the same size.
And this one's to showcase different LPS corals. Obviously, some slightly different fish as well in here, which is cool to see. You got some big rabbits in there. Yeah. Nice orange-shouldered tang I love to see, and a cool school of chromas too, which looks really nice on there.
Yeah, again, same sort of thing. They're functional fish helping to serve a purpose. So get a little bit more algae growth in here, and the bigger fish really help with that. So
nice.
Now, really appreciate it.
I believe these two systems, both the SBS and LPS system, are connected together via the sump. They run a common sump, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So both of these systems are joined, and I'm sure we'll see shortly the filtration out the back. Yeah,
super interesting to see. And coral-wise in this system, we're just talking about LPS, but have a look at the size of this heliofungia down here. Absolute beasts, some big caterpillars. You've got lobos, you've got symphilias, you've got a crazy euphilia garden up there with hammers, torches, frog spawns. The size of this guy up here is ridiculous. Massive bubble coral up there. He's looking pretty angry too. Got his stingers out. And then, you got some Galaxia, which obviously Galaxia needs a little bit of room because it does like to put out the sweeper cells.
That's exactly right.
You've got nothing but room to work with here. And also looking at the size of these rabbits, look how fat some of those spotted rabbits are. They're getting no shortage of food, and that orange-shouldered tang, he's got to be a solid 2 inches thick, I reckon. That's incredible. And any particular challenges with this system as opposed to the SBS? Is it running the same lighting, similar sort of flow, similar amount of flow, and the same sump?
A little bit less flow in here versus the SBS system. Lighting's also knocked back ever so slightly.
Okay.
In terms of real challenges in here, it's more dealing with that species conflict between, our different gardens of coral.
Sure. So even when you've got a 9,000 litre system, you're still dealing with coral warfare.
Absolutely. Like you can see on some of them already that they're sending those sweepers out. And, really trying to nail something around them.
Crazy. No, that's awesome. Well, maybe we should check out the soft coral system and then we'll go have a look at the filtration.
Absolutely.
All right, now our final system that we're going to have a look at the front of house before we go out the back is this soft coral system here, which is quite a unique shape. It's I would say it's an L shape, but it's probably more of a C shape because it's curved all the way around.
Yeah.
Rough dimensions and volume on this system?
We're looking at about 1.5 meters in height.
Yes.
It's definitely more narrow than our SPS LPS system, so
yes.
You'd be looking at maybe about 1 meter in depth.
Yes.
And yeah, you'd be, say approximately about 10 meters in length. So
it's quite a long system, so it's going to work out to be a pretty decent volume in here. But what I believe makes this system super interesting compared to the other two coral tanks we looked at, that this one's actually plumbed into some fish systems in the aquarium here.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, it's still thriving as well as it is.
Yeah, it was initially the only coral tank in the aquarium.
Okay.
But, yeah, now specialised to just soft coral, but yeah, plumbed into the fish system, and it's definitely benefiting off those extra nutrients in the water.
Yeah, when we're talking public aquarium fish systems, we're talking fish systems like you guys are dumping kilograms of food in there a day.
Absolutely. So yeah, this system's fed pretty heavily, and
yes.
we've definitely got the filtration to accommodate for that.
I can imagine. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing that. When we get to the inhabitants of this system, you've got just absolute leather overload in here. There's some monsters in here that we're talking like 50 centimeter diameter across, and there's numerous of them. You've got this beautiful garden over here of rose bubble tips in there, and a number of corallimorphs over here I can also see. So just an absolute soft coral explosion in here that are just enjoying life in that slightly higher nutrient.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can definitely see at this time of the day when they're really all opened up, the polyps are out, it looks gorgeous.
It does a treat. And fish-wise in this system, I did see one interesting character. There was a blue spot ray kicking about in here.
Yeah, that's right. Just over there.
There he goes, right on cue.
So, yeah, he's been here since he was a juvenile, essentially, and lived in this tank most of his life.
Yeah, he looks right at home, so I'm not surprised to find he grew up in there. What a beautiful specimen. Then from there, you've got same sort of deal, a lot of utilitarian fish in there, some tangs, sailfins, white cheeks, some more chromis, looks like some bristle-tooth, I think, or maybe mimic. Yeah, blue-eye bristle-tooth, I think. Yep. And then obviously with an anemone garden like that, you've got some clownfish in there as well.
Of course.
Looks a treat. Now, I did also notice in this system, is this a wave maker or is this return pump action here? Or?
So, yeah, off to that side, we've got the return along with the wave makers. So
yeah, okay.
Each garden has its own individual wave maker, but we've also got some pretty heavy units at either end of this display.
Some definite commercial spec wave makers in there. And then, yeah, you've got the sort of gyres located around each one of these little bommies, which just keeps the flow moving. And yeah, then you've got these big units at each end. I imagine with what I'm going to define as a C-shaped tank, that flow could be quite intriguing. Some of the fluid dynamics going around those corners would be strange.
Yeah, absolutely, which is why you can see behind me here some of these gyres over the top of the gardens individually, just to really make sure we're getting that flow across.
Just to make sure, yeah. I can imagine when leathers and things like to shed their skin, that they like a bit of flow to really get that off their skin and flush it free. And yeah, those guys are going to do a great job of making sure that they can release that. Yeah, fantastic. All right, Brad, we're out the back. Apologies for the background noise, but such is public aquarium life, and we're literally standing above the Aquapora display right here, and you can see the raw size of these corals. It's incredible. And then we can also see some of the lighting requirements here, which is pretty legit. That's it. Do you know roughly how many watts of lighting we're running above these systems? There's got to be a fair bit going in there.
Off the top of my head, no.
Each one of them is going to be pretty big, and we've got 2, 4, 6, 7 or 8 of these lights on here. That's the sort of power it takes to get that 2 meters deep.
Yeah, that's it. And again, we are looking to upgrade them even further and really bump that up.
Crazy, crazy. Now, filtration-wise, this system still runs like a wheel or an overflow, does it?
Yeah, absolutely. So just here next to me,
Yes.
we've got our overflow box.
Wow, yep.
And yeah, virtually all runs back down to the sump here.
Oh, there's the sump down there, right, right. So in the sump, take us through the flow of water in there.
Right, so yeah, it comes in from underneath
Yes.
and then essentially bubbles up through that refugium, through that keto algae,
Yes.
before going on through protein skimmers, through the reactors, and then straight back to the system.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, running that pure Triton method.
Triton method here on show. So yeah, you've got a large refugium with some equally large lighting helping that refugium growth. No shortage of protein skimmer there, and you can see those two just absolutely big couple of octos there firing away. Some GFO, phosphate remover in the reactors, and what looks like a pretty big size. This the return pump here?
No, so that one there is actually for another system.
Okay.
Our return pump's a little bit smaller, and
Yes.
on the far side of the sump there,
Sure,
but
sure.
each one runs each tank independently.
Yeah, no trouble. Supplementation on a system like this, obviously you've got a large coral load in here that is growing quite quickly.
Yeah.
How do you go about with testing and supplementing elements back into the water?
So basically all through the Triton method, through their process.
Yes.
Weekly ICP testing, so we know exactly what we need to add each week, and then supplementing that accordingly. So whether that be by adjusting our core 7 based on the growth, or just providing those micro elements.
Beautiful. Simple as that. Now, water changes, do you guys run water changes on these systems?
No, we try and avoid that at all costs. So
yeah, right.
as mentioned earlier, stability is key.
Yes.
And as part of that, we avoid water changes and just try to supplement the water where we can. And so far it's been running perfectly smooth.
Incredible. Amazing. Now, Brad, I have noticed one other piece of supplementation in this Reef system here. You've got a monster octo calcium reactor there.
That's right. So just trying to supplement that coral with as much calcium as we can, try and compensate with the core 7 as well.
Yeah, I can imagine if you were doing pure dosing on a system this big, you'd be going through hundreds of litres a day probably. So
exactly.
Big calcium reactor is going to take a bit of that load off it for you.
100%. So yeah, it just saves us a little bit of money in the long run.
Yeah.
And yeah, keeps everything nice and stable.
Amazing.
All right, Brad, I really appreciate you taking time out of your incredibly busy day to allow us to microphone you up and to get us to a little bit of a sneak peek behind the scenes at right here at Cairns Aquarium, where we've got some of Australia's, if not the world's best living coral displays in public aquaria.
It's my pleasure. I'm always happy to share it with others.
That's fantastic. And if anyone wants to find out more information, I'll put the web address down on the links below. And of course, if you're in the area, come in, see Brad, talk to him about your home aquarium, have a look at these aquariums, have a look, and you never know, you might be able to share a few battle stories along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Always happy to talk to other reefers.
Amazing. Cheers. All right, guys, there you have it. That was the tour of the Cairns Aquarium living reef displays. 3 unique systems. Those first 2, the SPS dominated display and the LPS dominated display, 9,000 litres each, plumbed into the one sump. And then probably what I think was the most incredible thing was that soft coral display that is plumbed in with the rest of their marine fish displays, which has some huge fish in there. We're talking some massive sharks and things that you see in public aquariums, and they're still able to grow coral in there, which is an absolute testament to the work the guys do at Cairns Aquarium. Do also want to say, getting a good look behind the scenes at their filtration and realizing there's some similarities to what we do at our home aquarium, and obviously some things are just on a huge scale, which is really cool to see. But what I did find really interesting to see was the fact that they are following the Triton method, which means they do not have to do water changes on those coral displays, which is almost unheard of when you've got displays that big, and must save them a lot of effort and of course a lot of money. Now, if you do have any questions, comments, feedback for either myself, the team at Cairns Aquarium, or anything else in general, feel free to pop it in the comment section down below. I do personally reply to each and every comment there, so it is the best way to get hold of me. And if you've been following like I am, if not every other hour, the subscriber number down in that bottom corner there, we are edging so close to the magical 30,000 subscriber mark. So if you are one of about the 30% of people who watch this channel who are not subscribed, please consider doing so. It takes 2 seconds of your time and costs no money whatsoever. It's that subscribe button down in the bottom corner there. Now, it would be remiss of me not to give a massive shout out to these names on screen here. These are my channel members, which is a level up on subscribing, where these guys do chip in a couple of bucks each and every month to make videos like this one possible, so you get my absolute gratitude for everything that you do. And of course, I should also mention that I have some awesome videos coming up in the coming weeks. I will be heading off to Adelaide in South Australia this week to see Mariah, a longtime reefing friend of mine who manages a reef section at an aquarium. I cannot wait to see her store because I've not been there before. I have followed her on social media for a long time, and we did get the opportunity to head up and see each other at Fragorama not that long ago, where I teed up this visit. So I can't wait to get on a plane, go see her incredible store, Seaview Aquarium in South Australia. I cannot wait, and I hope you guys are looking forward to that video as well. Now, I've got nothing else to say other than I hope you have a great week. Till next time, stay safe, keep reefing. Cheers guys, bye.